I had two books previous to this. Clan Apis, which was the first one, which is the biography of a honeybee. And then the second one was Sandwalk Adventures, which is this conversation between Charles Darwin and a follicle mite living in his left eyebrow. And the motivation for both of them had been to sort of wed my interest in doing comics with my love of biology. And the goal was to provide a different type of comic than was currently on the market. What I found out was I started hearing from a lot of educators who are actually using the books in their classrooms. I have heard from elementary school teachers through college professors who are using or were using Clan Apis and the Sandwalk Adventures. There's a fifth grade teacher. He was using it in his class to teach both language arts, visual arts, and science. And he found that, the kids found it very engaging, that they were very much into the story. And as a consequence, the information is sort of embedded in the story. It becomes critical to the plot. And so by doing that, you've created a context for the information and the kids hold on to it. If you can compel them through the material so that they enjoy it and that it's fun, then you have you've sort of eased the way for their learning. And I started to come to the idea that maybe a comic expressly designed to be a textbook, to employ the visual power of comics and the power of storytelling to place information that might be abstract and unusual for a lot of students into a context. And so that was the germ of the idea. There are 9 comic book chapters. So each comic book chapter introduces some sort of biological content, right? So for example, the first chapter talks about natural selection. The second chapter talks about the structure of the eye. In between those, right, so the comic book chapter is going to introduce the concept and the basics of natural selection. And then it's going to be immediately followed by a more traditional looking text that I've written that takes those ideas and goes into greater depth. All right? So that's sort of the basic book structure. The story itself features Wrinkles the Wonder Brain in these comic chapters. And the premise is that Wrinkles is the lab technician for the Greya sisters, which were the 3 witches from the Perseus legend who passed around an eye and a tooth. His job is to shuttle their one eye in between them while they're doing experiments, etc. And he, at one point in the first 5 pages, stumbles, drops the eye into a vat of distilled human imagination, and has to go in after it. And that's sort of the conceit for him hopping around to a whole bunch of different locations. I was trying to channel myself if I was nervous or resistant to science. What would I find welcoming? And I thought, well, I would think it would be really cool if within this science book we're interacting with mythological characters, with muses and superheroes and maybe a luminary scientist like Charles Darwin. And so that was really the impetus to make connections between the science and other elements of human thought and human thinking and the human experience.